Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Oh, yeah, it is on. All right, welcome back to IKonic 3D Studios, and I got a banger for you guys today. It's gonna involve One Piece. Cue intro now. Specifically, I'm holding chapter 41 because this is Nico Robin's story and chapter. And as many One Piece fans know, this is the chapter where she specifically says, I want to live. And that's when Luffy saves her, or the arc really starts for Enies Lobby. So, the model that I am actually painting today was from CA3D. Carlos designed this one specifically and modeled it himself. Can't wait to get painting on this one. This one's pretty special for me, personally. I've been a One Piece fan for almost 20 some years. I've been watching it since I was a kid, so I would have this model assembled right now, but as we all know, Nico Robin is a little top heavy.
ようやくだと。
それじゃあとにかくありがとう。鳥の王国のみんなにもよろしくな。ウソップ、サンジは無事か？
美女がいい。
おお、しっかりしろ。やべえぞ、チョッパー。この流血止めてくれ。
And her model literally will not stay on here unless I glue this whole piece together because she'll literally start falling over. So I'm gonna get outside, I'm gonna get this going on the priming and show you guys the process of which I did to paint it. I'll see you guys back here at the end of the video. All right, we are outside and I'm gonna get ready to prime. It's about 10 o'clock at night. Just gonna get this primer done so I can start working on this model this week. I got some slight cleanup to do, just around a little bum on the end, just a couple nubs on this. The rest of the body came out absolutely perfect. I actually used the pre-supports for this model because I'm only doing this model in 1/6. Some of my models I'll do in 1/4. So I have to do the supports myself. For this model, I just printed directly from the pre-supports, no problems whatsoever. For this part, I'm just going to be using the trusty Rust-Oleum primer, just their black. Make sure that it's not the paint and primer, because you will have fun waiting forever for that stuff to dry, and it plots up pretty bad. So make sure you guys pick up, if you're going to do a Rust-Oleum, make sure it's just the primer, not the paint and primer. So I'm going to sand some of this. I probably won't even really show that in the video, because that's literally all I have to sand off are these little nubs, which is nothing crazy. And then I'll start hitting with this. So you guys will see the time lapse right now.
All right, and just like last week, it's still a bajillion degrees out here, even at nighttime, and I'm drenched again for like the 5th time today. This took about 10 minutes. The priming part's the easiest part. So I'm gonna get this inside the booth, let it dry overnight, and I'll start working on this tomorrow. I'll see you guys there.
All right, switching over here. Now I'm inside the studio. You get to hear my voice in this voiceover. This lovely, lovely Monday afternoon. All right, just starting out with a zenithal here. This is the normal highlighting, like every single person in the entire world does. And moving on from here, I'm gonna start out with my base. So I am starting out with a Vallejo flat earth. And then I believe I also have a Vallejo sand, dark sand. And then up next, I believe, is Vallejo buff. And then I also have a Vallejo pale sand. And I start by laying out a good solid coat of that flat brown or earth brown, whatever it was called, and put down some of that dark sand on top of that. Pretty watered down though. Once it dries, it does show a little bit of that brown. The LED above my paint booth does not do this justice whatsoever. But I start by pulling out my oldish airbrush here, and I connect it to, as you're gonna see here, an ancient single pump little airbrush canister thing. Yeah, I've had this thing for a while, aka why it's covered in spiderwebs. And I get severely frustrated here because I thought lowering the PSI significantly was going to give me the effect I wanted by doing a little splatter effect, and I did this for about 20 minutes and got nowhere. So I pulled out a brush and just started brushing paint off the brush on it. And this is the final result of what I did. Came out pretty good. I'm happy with it. It looks better from the overhead. Next up, I start out with a flat green from Vallejo, and I just do all the plants in this color, and I do a little spin effect here at the end so you don't have to see me paint all green. Yeah, normal stuff. And cue the next color, which is black green from Vallejo as well. I did this on the darker little peaks of grass to create a little bit of separation. And then I dry brush a little bit of this yellow green from Vallejo across all the plants to kind of give it a good definition transition between all the plants on the base itself. And at supersonic speed here, I pull out a coal black from Pro Acrylic, and I just do this whole entire round base part in black. Simple, easy. Went over this about 2 times, make sure it's solid black, and I moved on. And cue the transition. I'm gonna start my skin tones, which I always start out with a squid pink for most of my female characters. I give a pretty good solid base around this all over that zenithal. Make sure that it's nice and pink. And the next color I'm gonna pull up is Vallejo Red Ink. This is gonna give that ground affected pinkle effect that almost everybody does in today's society when it comes to painting. Simple, easy, it's easy to follow, and all the results almost come out perfect anyway, so. And transition, the next color I'm gonna use is Pro Acrylics Tan Flesh. This is actually a new color to me that I recently picked up off a homie's website. And you know what? I am really happy with this color. I cannot complain. It came out what I wanted it to be, and honestly, I foresee me using this color a lot in the future because it is honestly one of the best midtones I've ever used for anything, and it thinned down absolutely perfect. I have no complaints, and if anybody else ever wants to pick it up, please do, because whoo, man, was that a good color. And to create some depth in the shadows again, I pull out Vallejo's Game Color Athena skin. This is kind of going to be that replacement for Orcish Dermish, which most people in the US don't have easy access to, so I just use this. This gives that nice shadow effect, but it also kind of dulls out the color. So after I'm done with the highlight tone here, which is Vallejo's Light Flesh, I'm going to go over this with a yellow ink.
And let's not be wasteful here. I'm going to pull out a little bit of that Athena skin that I had left over, and I'm going to mix a little bit of leftover pale skin that I had in there, switch it around a little bit. And I'm going to use this for all the fingernails. I'm going to use this on the toenails as well. Just going to reuse some of the paint that I had left sitting around, so I'm not just throwing it out and wasting it. On a super ultra wide version of my airbrush booth, I'm gonna pull out a old rose, and I'm gonna do this for the entire skirt. My bad, I forgot to put this back on 2x, so you get to see my forehead and face a little bit here. And next up, I'm pulling out a Vallejo liquid mask, and I'm going to use this on the midsection of her bosom. I'm just going to call it bosom, because I'm not going to go around and get demonetized here. So I'm going to put a liquid mask if my camera ever wants to focus, and I'm just going to go over this so I can actually start painting and airbrushing the effects on her jacket. And as that liquid mask dries a little bit, I'm going to pull out some salmon rose and mix this with that old rose color. This is going to be for the bottom part of the skirt. I couldn't really find a color that I directly wanted for this, and this is probably the closest I was able to get, and it matched the model and render that I was going for. No complaints. Transition back over to the airbrush booth. We are starting out with a dark Persian blue from Vallejo, and this is going to be my basis for the jacket. This color is exactly what I needed to, and looking at the renders as well as the model I have here at home, perfect color. And then I transition to some Dragunov Nightshade. This is going to be the underbosom part of her jacket and some of the wrinkles to kind of give it an effect. But in the LED, the camera does not do it justice, and yeah, pulled out some matte varnish after this to seal all the colors in. And FYI, make sure you let this dry. And next up, I'm going to pull out a Nocturna color from Vallejo, and this is Blueberry. I'm going to do this on the jacket flower that she has. And this came out exactly the color that I was hoping it would come out to be. A little bit of a blue, a little bit of a purple. No complaints. Happy with it. If you're not happy with it, I don't really care. Continue on with my overly talking here. I'm pulling out a Vallejo metallic silver, and I'm just going to use this for the actual zipper part of her jacket all the way up to the top of the jacket sleeves here. And we're going to finish up her skirt now. I'm just going to pull out a flat green and mix it with a Vallejo yellow green as well. Give it that nice pastel color, because I literally have no pastels just laying around, nor do I have a lot of greens. So I'm going to go over this for all the petals. And then on the internal parts, as you can see, I'm leaving a little bit of spacing. I'm just going to do a flat green in there to give it a good separation. And next up are the flowers on the skirt itself. I'm pulling out a Vallejo ivory here. Usually I like to stay away from just a basic white for anything that you're doing a base color for. Mainly because, one, the center of the flowers are actually white, but ivory is a nice darker tone, and it gives it a little bit of separation from just a basic white. Stay away from whites. Use them as you need to, but generally use an ivory or off-white. You're going to be better off, and it actually comes out better in photos as well as video. now I'm actually gonna try to imitate a nice pastel using a Vallejo light yellow. This is gonna go over the flowers themselves, and I'm gonna try to make sure that I don't get any on the center of the flower. And I'm gonna sit here and play with my lights a little bit because it is very overexposed, and my overhead LED is very bright for some reason, even though it's on its lowest setting. So even though you can barely see the yellow on here, I promise you it's yellow. And at this point, I'm gonna start the eyes. And fun fact, my back started spasming pretty bad here, so I'm gonna try my absolute best on these little tiny eyes, starting out with a Nocturna's highlight skin. I like to use this for most female eyes. It comes out the way that I want it to. But as I said, these eyes were absolutely ridiculously tiny compared to the past couple models that I've done, so tried my best. Mixed a little Persian blue and sky blue. Persian blue is gonna be the outside color of the actual eye, and then the sky blue is going to be that interior color that I'm going to work on here. And here is our final results for the eyes. It came out pretty good. I just did a black Vallejo for the actual eyelashes, and then I did a smoke ink actually for her eyebrows. I forgot to show that, but next up I pull out a Magos purple, and I actually mix this with some of that old rose that I had in my palette. This is gonna it's a contrast color, but it's also gonna add a nice, I don't want to put this, a nice glossy effect. Before I even actually apply any more gloss. It's a kind of that nude look that I was going for, especially because in the anime, she has nude lips. She does not have lipstick on. And then I just throw a little bit of gloss out of frame here over the eyes and the lips. Transitioning over to a little bit of piecing together so I can get some final paint on this model. It's coming out really good so far. I'm pulling out just a little bit of that coal black that I had on my palette, and I'm gonna go over the top of her hair where I had the actual clip while I was doing some of the painting. I'm just gonna fill this in a little bit, make sure it all matches, heat it up, good to go, put her on the side, and then I'm gonna start final assembly on most of this model because the only thing I have left after this is doing some shading on the sunglasses. Sunglasses, I kind of started out, cheated a little bit. I used the black red from Vallejo and heated this up a couple times. I learned a little bit of an eye technique back in like elementary school where you do a little bit of shading and draw in circles to kind of give it that effect like there's light shining on it. Kind of like an eye, but without actually doing the eye itself. This is just an effect that I learned once upon a time. And then I just go over the outside of the frame with some of the ivory that I had left over, and then I hit it with a silver that I had left over as well. All from Vallejo. Final placement, I put the sunglasses on, and I can call this model done. We are, the finished model. I would say it came out okay. I'm not 100% happy with it, and I'm here to just be truthful with you guys. The cuts around the lower torso were a little eh. I don't know if this is a warpage, but I've seen a couple other people in the Discord themselves
comment on the cut around the lower torso towards where the hip aligns to the skirt here. I printed this a couple times in different orientations and it all came out the exact same way. It did not matter. Just so be a little weary of that unless you want to mold it into the body a little bit, which is totally awesome if you decide to do that. This is going on a shelf and it'll face forward, so I'm not too worried about this. I'm not personally selling this, but if I was, I would probably mold that in a little bit. Overall, the paint quality came out pretty good. My back's a little sore from a concert last night, so some of my brush work towards the end there was a little Standing in vans for 8 hours is absolutely no fun, and if anybody does it, God bless you, because whew, yeah. So that pretty much wraps up this video. This wraps up this paint job. So I'm gonna get some final B-roll shots of this. I'm gonna put it in the booth, get some photos for the gram, and I'm gonna go put it on my collectible shelf and get started on the next project. So if you like this video, please comment, like, and please subscribe for more content that's coming towards you in the future. I'll see you out there. Peace.